Bang. My front door didn't open. It detonated, and suddenly 3 guys in matching polos are in my kitchen barking. Freeze like I'm cooking meth instead of hanging a cabinet. I set my drill down. Try to explain. This is my place, my name on the deed, my sweat in the wood grain. And then she steps in behind them, like cold air off the lake. Blazer clipboard, a smile that never touches her eyes. Good morning, Mr. Reed. I'm Marjorie Hale with Lakeshore Civic Patrol, safety inspection. She touches my tools like evidence tugs a cabinet I haven't finished. Tries the basement door, and the moment she finds it locked, something sharp flickers across her face. Immediate access to the foundation for compliance, she says. 10 minutes later, I'm standing on my own porch, watching her click a padlock through my front door, while the tall guard, Dylan, boxes my tools like contraband. You have 24 hours to remit $3,800 in violation fees or face seizure under community authority. Yeah, that happened. I had scraped for years to buy this cabin on Silver Birch Lake, Maple Bay, Wisconsin. 172 grand. That felt like every overtime shift I ever pulled, every simple dinner I cooked at home, instead of eating out every little promise I made to my dad after he passed. He used to talk about a quiet lake, a dock, grandkids throwing bread to fish, a place where the world calms down. He didn't make it here. I was finishing what he started. You know what I mean. That night, I'm at the Maple Motor Inn, breathing disinfectant, and rain reading the fine print like it might rearrange itself into mercy. I Google Lakeshore Civic Patrol and find a ghost of a Facebook page. No office, no address, a phone with a full mailbox. So I call the one person who never blinked during closing, my realtor, Lydia Park. She shows up with a folder thick enough to fix a wobbly chair and says, "Evan, I've sold half this shoreline. Your lot has never been under an HOA. No covenants recorded, no assessments, nothing. Whatever this is, it isn't legal." Relief hits first hot and shaky, then an anger settles in like good coffee. We split the work. She dives into state registries, and I go find the address on Marjorie's notice. Birchview Courts, peeling siding coin-op machines, with out of order, written in permanent marker. At 8:47 a.m., Marjorie comes out of Building C in a too-crisp Blazer, climbs into a sun-faded sedan with a cracked taillight. Not a county car, not anything official. I followed a dockside cafe where the coffee is decent and the walls are old fish and old stories. She waits, and then 2 men slide into the booth who look like their suits were expensive once and have been sweating ever since. I move to the window with a newspaper. Like suddenly, I care about box scores. 14 by Thursday, one of them says not a suggestion. We know where he works. We know where she lives. No more stories. Marjorie leans in. The property transfer is in motion. It's just a boundary issue. I'll have cash in hand. My stomach does that slow elevator drop. 14,000. Thursday, property transfer. Me. She's not just a paper bully. She's drowning and ready to stand on anyone's head to breathe. I do the thing I was raised to do. Bring truth into the light. And I go to court to get the padlock off. Instead, I get served with a temporary restraining order that reads like I'm an unhinged stalker. The packet has call logs. I never made screenshots. I never sent a photo of a truck that looks like mine. Parked at midnight beside her complex on a night my location history says I was 2 towns away. The judge stares at paperwork, not at me. Gavel. I am barred from my own property from contacting her from the next breath Unless the paper says it's okay, you ever feel a system lean away from you because a stack of forms has more confidence than your shaking voice? Yeah. The lake people I just started to know shift around me. Mrs. Lindstrom stops waving from her tomato plants. The bait shop guy rings me up without the usual weather talk. Whatever story Marjorie is telling, it sticks. Then at midnight, a soft knock, like somebody apologizing to the door. I peek, it's the tall guard. Dylan, eyes bruised by no sleep, hands shaking around a cheap smartphone. I crack the chain, he slips inside. I'm sorry, he says she's my aunt. She told me it was a real program. When I figured out it wasn't, she said if I walked away, bad things would happen to my mom. He taps his phone, a folder of recordings labeled by date. Marjorie practicing the word compliance, like it has flavor. Marjorie laying out a shell company that buys contested properties for pennies, then flips them clean. Marjorie coaching him on how to testify to make me look unstable. If he fights, drown him in paper. People believe forms more than faces. Dylan already went to the county fraud office, he says, but they needed more. We bring everything to investigator Angela Sue. She listens without pity, without interrupting, and when she takes the headphones off, I see the switch flip. We file an emergency motion, and by afternoon, the restraining order is dismissed with prejudice. The lie folds up on itself like wet cardboard. Back at the cabin, the basement doorframe is chewed with pry marks. Drawers rifled a stranger's smell in my rooms. Angela explains the thing I never would have found. In 1959, a survey crew misdrew a sliver of shoreline, 18 inches of my foundation overlapping a neighbor's platted line. On paper, it's nothing but in the wrong hands. It's a crowbar. Marjorie had studied these little hiccups, spun them into speeches about safety, then claimed disputed strips revert to civic easements, then used the doubt to force a judicial sale to a mailbox company called Bracken Creek Holdings. Sale price in her notes, $82,500. After fake fees and costs, her cut lands at the number I heard at Dockside Cafe. 14 by Thursday. She wasn't freelancing. Angela has near matches in 2 other counties. Same language, same seals, same routine. Mail and wires across county lines, so the feds pick up the line and don't let go. And the neighborhood wakes up. Lydia builds a phone tree like a coach drawing routes on a whiteboard. Mr. Patel, 2 doors down, waves a handwritten receipt for a water test Marjorie charged for and never did. The Mendozas paid $300 for seasonal security that turned out to be Dylan walking by, once trying not to make eye contact. George has a camera full of Marjorie's rounds, time-stamped, mapped, suddenly a field manual for fraud. Dylan's mom gets threatened, and Angela moves her to protective housing so fast it makes my head spin. Thursday creeps closer, and Marjorie starts to fray. Circles her apartment, loads boxes into the sedan, takes them back out. Barricades for a night, calls anyone who will listen. Agents sit in unmarked cars and let the unraveling unspool. In the morning, she does the most on-brand thing possible. Announces an emergency community meeting in the Silver Birch activity room to clear her name. She shows up late in a suit that doesn't quite fit. Voice trembling like a loose window in a storm. Ladies and gentlemen, there has been a coordinated campaign to slander legitimate authority. I have only ever tried to protect your investments. She gestures at me like I'm a raccoon she found in her pantry. Angela steps forward from the back credentials, up steady as a level bubble. Ms. Hale, we're presenting evidence of organized fraud. She plays Dylan's recordings on a tinny speaker, but the sound is clear enough. Marjorie's voice laying out steps, timelines, threats. Bank records come up on a borrowed projector. Checks to Lakeshore Civic Patrol, turning into cash at a casino 2 towns over. The room changes. you can feel fear evaporate and something simple take its place. Truth breathes. Marjorie tries one more monologue. You don't understand, there are real boundary risks. I was the only one holding the line. Then points at faces blaming the water while she drowns. Agents ease forward. Ms. Hale, you are under arrest for mail fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy, and witness intimidation. As they turn her toward the door, she throws one last shard over her shoulder. They know where you live, Evan. This isn't over. Within a week, the arrest video circles the internet. More victims step out of the fog, and the case gets bigger teeth. The prosecutor moves quick. The padlock is gone. My key turns like a blessing. I finish the cabinet slow and careful. Lydia brings a lasagna the size of a cooler. Dylan shows up with a haircut and a different kind of eyes. He's starting Clearwater Watch, real security, real paperwork. Training seniors and legit HOAs how to spot con games before they grow teeth. Sentencing day lands hard. 11 years parole possible after 7 restitution across the board. Her accounts freeze. The UPS mailbox is closed for good, and the part you can't put in a ledger kicks in around here. We start calling each other before we panic. We make a 1-page checklist for verifying authority. We build a voluntary alliance to keep predators from walking right through our front doors just because they printed a seal. I sit on the deck at sunset with a warm beer and the kind of tired that feels like healing. I used to be the guy people underestimated, the one who apologizes when somebody else bumps the cart. But this whole mess taught me where my spine is. A realtor who refused to be bullied. A kid who found his line and held it. An investigator who knew the difference between paperwork and proof, and my dad's voice in my head. Measure twice, cut once. And if they try to cut you out of your own life, you measure again and cut where the truth says to cut. Do I feel sorry for Marjorie? Sometimes when I think about debt and panic and how addiction pulls at your ankles. But then I hear the click of that padlock, see the scratch marks at my basement, and remember she didn't stumble. She studied. She wrote scripts, practiced tones, counted on the human habit of trusting forms that look official more than faces that look tired. The cabin's finished now. Floors like honey windows that don't rattle kids using the dock. Like a springboard, dogs shaking lake water all over my boots. And I don't even mind. And the arguments keep rolling in under that arrest clip. Some folks say throw the book. Some say this country loves punishment too much. Others say the real problem is how easy it was to fake authority and how quick the court believed paper over a person. So tell me, where do you land? Was justice served, or did the system swing too hard? Have you seen paperwork turned into a weapon or an HOA that wasn't what it claimed to be? Drop your take in the comments, push back, agree, argue. Tell the story where you finally stood up when someone underestimated you. Because somebody watching needs your map for the next time a clipboard knocks.